Yep. All right, I'm going to call this meeting to order. Citizens may comment on items appearing on the agenda when invited to participate during that agenda item by the board chair. Citizens may comment on items related to school district business not appearing on this agenda during the public comment portion of the meeting. Citizens, after identifying themselves, will proceed to make comments as briefly as the subject permits. Basic rules of decorum are in effect at all times. The chairperson may interrupt or terminate an individual's statement when appropriate, including when statements are out of order, too lengthy, breach personal privacy rights, abusive, obscene, irrelevant, or otherwise improper. The public should realize that this is a trustee business meeting conducted in a public forum, and will stand for the pledge. Mine's behind. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We need approval of the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Approval of bills.
Did I miss something about this ELC?
So we're to get there on November 18th. There's a ELC grant test site, payroll test site rent.
So what I was told was that the school districts pooled their money into getting a test site. And so school district 5, we're just paying them back for those different.
This is for the test site for COVID.
Yes.
That
Okay.
was the $45.
Okay.
grant.
Oh, that's good. I thought. It didn't say anything about COVID.
You thought it was going to be a piece of my sauce.
Well, I thought maybe we were doing soil samples or something. Okay, that would we said, yeah, we were glad to do that. Okay.
Can you motion?
Yep.
I'll make a motion to accept the bills, November bills, December. December summary.
I seconded.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so we look at the little blue sheet. Guests, correspondence, guests, public participation. All right. Okay. All right, West Valley PTO.
So they have started it. I sent an email out to Tessa. And she's the one that ran it before, and I haven't heard back from her yet. So, but I know they did get it going, right? Isn't that right, Tina? Richard, didn't they have a sign up sheet at the conferences? I think. Yeah, so hopefully you're back. Yeah, Richard's back there. Seems like that guy on home improvement. Anyway, so we'll hopefully she'll hear back from her soon and we'll figure out who the president is and then have them start coming, at least a couple times a year.
Yeah. Okay, West Valley Teachers Organization.
Okay.
Yay.
So I'm Bonnie McDonald, and I'm the co-vice president of WVTA. And I just have a statement from WVTA to the West Valley School Board to read. We want to start by saying that the WVTA is grateful for our long history of positive association with and the support of the school board and administration. This statement is in response to comments made publicly regarding the relationship between staff and administration at West Valley School. We'd like the community to be assured that staff and administration here at West Valley School work together day to day and side by side in a cooperative manner to create a positive culture and environment for us all. The culture work that we have done over the past several years has produced a positive, supportive work environment, and we have worked hard to create and hate to see it undermined by the spread of negative misinformation. The West Valley atmosphere is not divisive or intimidating. We work collaboratively with and feel supported by our superintendent, Cal Ketchum, and our building principals, Tina Blair and Richard Gross. We support our administration and take pride in the fact that we face challenges, learn, and grow together as a team. It's necessary for the West Valley community that stakeholders are informed, ready to have meaningful discussions, and work together for the benefit of our students. Thank you. So now I'll turn it over to Richard, and Gretchen to talk about some things that are going on in their classrooms.
First of all, Rich Nickerson, I teach 7th grade history, math, and whatever else Ms. Blair would like me to teach. First of all, we were able to have some electives this year, which is great for our kids. A lot of times, we do math, we do reading, we do English, we do the core materials here, we do a great job. And we're trying to branch out of more electives and more things. And originally we were set to do a gaming. It's getting very popular, the esports. which there's actually, I didn't know this, I found out last year, there's like college scholarships back east that they could have athletes that could do on the computer games. And it's all organized, and we decided that was a little bit too much to bite off for one time for this. So we switched gears and we still went with technology. We were able to offer a 3D printing class, which is cool for the kids. It's right now we actually had to start up another class because there's so many people that want to get into it. It's pretty awesome. It starts out with SketchUp for Schools, which is done by Google, which is with Carol, with you guys here, you probably know about that. It's a 3D modeling software. And basically we go in there the first couple of days, they just kind of play around with it a little bit, kind of get used to it. And then I should have brought down some of the things we printed out, but last trimester, we did a pirate ship with a slide and a hose, and it's actually 3D and you can actually print things out. These are some of the things that we did print out. This is one of the first things that we printed, as you guys have seen with 3D printers, pretty basic. There is a big, huge learning curve. I didn't realize there was as much involved whenever I took it on as I did. It actually took me about 6 weeks to even print something out. The kids are awesome about it. We have, well, they come up stuff. This is our Christmas one. This is our Bumble from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. We have some Halloween stuff we have in here. Then of course, social media has to kick into it. And I gave into the kids and we made a Rocktopus with the rock. And it's articulation, 3D printing. It's an octopus with the rock's head on there. They get to design whatever they want. We were able to get so far along to it that at Christmas time right now I'm printing, which this right here, for example, takes about 15 hours to print. It's not super fast. It's not, it's very intense in how you have to do it. And we were able to get a lot of ornaments. So the kids this year, and the first 20 kids in the class were able to create their own ornament and hang it on a tree, take it home to the parents. And hopefully that's something we can continue to go on here. It's kind of a fun elective, but it is a career. It is a job. It's also with my advanced class now, I'm getting into the actual mechanics of a 3D printer, how to adjust it, how to set it up, how to do different plastics, how to do stuff like that. So it's one of the many things that were added here, and I think it's a good addition, and it's going great. The kids are loving it. I think I've had more fun than that. So, and with that, I'd like to turn it over to Ms. Wick.
Cool. So I don't know if any of you saw the paper. Now, my name didn't actually make it to the front page, but I quoted extensively on A6. So no, it was super fun. They came, and I think last year Cal spelled out in the paper, but this year they came to West Valley. And I think this is year 7 for Shakespeare, and with a few interruptions for COVID. So thank you for always saying yes to the request for money. It's Scream and Deal for $800, and they come and they present, and the 7th graders had studied Shakespeare, this particular play, for the 4 weeks leading up to it. And so it was kind of hysterically cute because the actors, after they perform, they have lunch with the kids. And they said, well, we can't eat lunch in the cafeteria this year because of COVID, but we could eat in your classroom. And I said, well, is it okay if I bring in a few students? And so all the seats in my room had been moved back, and I had run down to return Phil's ladder. So by the time I got back, the actors were all sitting on one side, and there were probably 30 kids all in a clump on the other side. And it was just really cute. And they were talking about doing the skits in the classroom with the real Shakespeare versions. And so the actor said, well, some of you can do your skits. And they said, oh yeah, we don't have our scripts. And I said, the books are over there. And so for the next 20 minutes, those actors got to watch the 7th graders do these scripts. And it was just really cute. So it was a really good interaction and super fun. And if you haven't seen the article, it's really worth reading.
You're also in the paper recently for.
Oh yeah, for Friday night,
Yes,
spending the
yeah.
night outside.
Yes.
We raised $1,000 for Sparrow's Nest, and I think next year we need more of you to join us. Pretty sure. Isn't that-
Sleeping or donating?
Sleeping.
All right, thank you. All right, principal's report. Where is he? Oh, yeah, sure.
Neighbor on the other side.
You can come around.
You're supposed to show me your eyes.
You have to get around the owl.
It's my fault. I'm just being so awkward.
Do you want to sit right here?
I think I'll sit even, and I'll just back up you more. So anyway, yeah, so we are kind of in the thick of it at the elementary level, being that it is close to Christmas. You know, the kids kind of get a little bit excited and amped, so we're trying to keep the lid on the building as best we can with how many kids we have. Our count this week was at 435 kids, K4. One of the highlights that we're seeing is we hit 100 in 4th grade. We hit 99 in second, which is kind of a tricky thing because the grade levels that are kind of on both ends of that are low, like third grade is at 78 and kindergarten is at 64. So that's going to be really tricky to staff as we go through the years because there's either going to be a bubble class at some point or we'll just have to get creative. We are looking at 6 second grades for next year. If we project out about a 5% growth rate, we're looking at starting even with 6 at about 18 kids, 17 kids in a room, which is a problem because we don't know where to put those classrooms. We'll probably be good with 4 sections of kindergarten till we hit about 80 registrations, because that'd be about 20. First grade we'll lose a section, but then third grade, again, we might have to go with 5 of those. I'm just looking at numbers. So if we want to keep class sizes low, that's going to be bare minimum. So we lose 1, we gain 2, net gain of 1. Right now, we're already pretty much at the end of our limit with space, but we can always look at ideas that are out there. I know you've got a couple of decisions to make today, but for the most part, really, that's where we are to keep it short and sweet. We're just field trips and things going, trying to keep academics as steady as we can to go through, just to keep the schedule kind of the same for kids, so it's not too crazy. But yeah, and another thing too that we're looking at is just some lunchroom things. We are cutting out there's a room in the lunchroom that we're cutting out, kind of fill is kind of a big hole in there so that we can serve out of it, and that way we can take the things that are in the lunchroom, put it in that room, and then serve food out of there, which will give us more space so that we can fit more kids in the lunchroom. Right now it's really tough because we can only have 1 group in there at a time, so kids alternate going to recess, like K1 and who's inside, and then it switches. So it's a long time for paras to cover that, and when we have a para who's down or something, it's stressful on our building because it means we have to cover, and then groups are lost, and we really need those reading groups to maintain as much as they can, because we have so many kids who need that intervention. So yeah, it's I would also highlight too, if you haven't had a chance to look at Anna Porter's counselor page on the website, it's phenomenal. It's on the main site. It's K4 counselor. She spent a lot of time on that, building that, and yeah, so it's finally come to fruition. She started it a while ago, and so yeah, finally got it up and running. So it should be a good resource for families and parents and yeah, everyone. So that's pretty much all I have. So,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Want me to speak from there too? Well, just so maybe the owl can see you. It's supposed to rotate.
Oh, it can. Okay. All right. So Tina Blair, middle school principal. I didn't know where is the owl projecting it to?
Right at you.
So it's supposed to follow your.
But is it video recording?
Yeah.
If it's not in Zoom?
Yeah.
Great. So anyways, I'm Tina Blair, in case someone's watching this later. We were drawn again for the NAEP testing. We might have talked a little bit about this last time, but that's the National Assessment of Educational Progress. And schools get randomly drawn and we participate. They drew 50 kids, 50 8th graders. Parents can decline for their kids to take the test, and then they would fill it in with others, I believe. But they'll be taking that soon. Terry Deerenfield is in the process of setting us up for that and working things out with them. That test is helpful because it's how we know that no matter how you're grading or what kind of GPAs you're giving out in your schools, your high schools, and how they're coming out, it lets us know from state to state, district to district, how they're actually doing and competing nationwide. And without that, we wouldn't have known about the discrepancies between the states. So it is a good one. I think it's helpful for educators across the nation and then helps kids. We've been taking vector and vector trainings and SBAC certifications as part of what they did on these latest PLCs. Vector training, you might see that come through on the bills. I don't know, does that come, how do we get vector trainings? Through what?
Comes through the insurance, I think, basically, yeah.
Okay, like I had some on COVID and cleaning, and I've got others on personal safeties. I've seen ones like on weather and ice and things. So I'm working on those. And then every teacher that gives the SBAC test, the summative test at the end of the year, has to go through a certification before they give that. We have the first trimester assembly this coming Friday, and that's it's a celebration of the first trimester. Every grade level nominates students for the above and beyond awards. There's usually about 4 students. Sometimes there could be more or one less, if they depends on, but we shoot for 4. And those are students who are just outstanding students that are working hard and have good attitudes, are kind to others, and really exemplary of the warrior way. And so they will be honored this Friday. And we also draw for our level up tickets. So that's part of our program for honoring kids again for doing the right thing. So they get warrior tickets from teachers and adults in the building. And then some kids choose a little gift or prize if they get drawn, like on a Monday, but some kids choose to level up, which means they get 2 chances for the big assemblies. And so the younger kids seem to like to get the prizes. The older kids seem to like to level up and get gift cards and things like that. So, and there'll be a little contest, and that'll just be a fun time. So there'll be a 5th and 6th grade assembly, and then a 7th and 8th grade assembly. Too many students for us all. What's the count that's allowed in the gym?
Put me on the spot here.
I don't know. Anyways, we have more kids than I believe would.
400, I think.
I
Yeah.
think we would be getting over with our staff and things that's pushing that gym. So anyways, we'll divide it into 2. Tomorrow night, we have our first band concert of the year, and 6th, 7th, and 8th grade band. The 7th and 8th grade bands were a little bit decimated by COVID. So that's a combined 7th and 8th has one advanced band, and they're sounding really good. And then the 6th grade band is just back in full force. So it's exciting to listen to, and everyone's invited. That's tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Mrs. Hand will be here for that. Like the elementary, we're looking at next year, and I know we have the possible bond issue. I don't know how that's exactly written on your agenda, but I think about the 16 classrooms that are down here, and how many we added? 6, Richard, or so on your side since then, or 5 or 6 we've had to build in, that we've added in. And I think that was in the 2012-2013 school year. Those kids that were here when that decision was made, even as kindergartners, are gone and out of this school. They're not even here. And it goes fast. Their careers that they're here and gone. And thinking of the numbers that are coming, I would just like to say that I would like to see that go to the people to decide whether or not we would go forward with another building. I feel like we would be remiss in not having put that out to the public. If we had not, I look at the names out there on the plaques, if we had not gone forward, and if the people had not chosen to build this building or the 2000 edition that I student taught in, I can't imagine where we would be with this number of kids out in, you guys, many of you were here. I don't know what that would be like. I just cannot imagine. And so I think the foresight of the people to put that out there, it didn't pass. The first time you put out for this bond, it didn't pass.
Yeah, it was 2 years, I think, before I get.
Okay, it didn't make it. And then the next time it went through, it did make it. And I'm not saying putting it out there is going to make it, but it lets the people know what the need is. And it informs the people, and it lets them have the choice. I recently had that in Columbia Falls as a voter where I live at, and I wish I could leave a legacy of just giving money for a school, but I can't do that, with my wages.
279.
Yeah, well, okay, but I can't do that, but I can be a part of that though. And it does mean it's part of my taxes, but I can be part of a new school. And that board gave me that opportunity to make that decision. Some of my neighbors and friends, didn't really want to support that, and that's their choice. But I appreciated that it went to bond, or it went to the choice. And I would asking that you would strongly consider taking that to the people. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
I have a quick question for you. On the national testing, when will you have results back on that? Do we know?
You don't really ever you get results. You don't get results for your school.
Oh, okay.
We don't get,
Yeah,
our
that's
school
what
is,
I'm
we
very
have,
curious about is where do we rank?
And we get
But you don't get that.
nominated every year.
yeah, we don't get individual, we definitely don't get students back, and we're not large enough to get district information back, that it would be too telling or something, but we get a state level. It's just part of being a small school, but we are a middle-sized small school or a large-sized small school, and so we get picked every time. So,
But it really doesn't give us any information back then.
you know, it's just being part of a national collective that, or, you know,
How much does it take a lot of time out of our?
Nope.
costs?
mm-mm. Yeah, I wish I had Terry Deerenfield here right now, or if any of you have given it. They did it when I taught fourth grade. They pick them out of fourth and eighth grade. Do they pick any in the high school? Does anyone know that?
I think it's 11th grade.
Yeah. So it's just part of an agreement that the OPI allows them here, and we allow them in the building. And so that we can gather the national data and know that as a nation where
They
we're at.
so they bring in a team of teachers, they gives the test.
Mhm.
Proctors, basically. They're not
Proctors.
teachers
Yeah.
necessarily.
No,
In any of
so
ours
they
that have,
monitor as it be- as- yeah, okay.
yeah, and we can have teachers sit in with them. Students with IEPs or 504 plans get their accommodations. A parent letter went out, it goes out in the newsletter. And if parents don't want them to take that, you know, it's also a chance, I think, for kids to practice in that environment and to practice taking a test and getting a look at it. But it really is part of, you know, a national collective and gathering information that helps us as a whole. So.
And I believe that was still paper and pencil, right?
I'm not
It
sure
used
right
to be
now.
paper and pencil, like the old Iowa test of basic.
They would all get a
skills.
red pencil. I don't know if any of you took it. You get a red pencil. They let you keep your pencil. Anyways.
I argue that the kids don't get any of their scores back either.
They don't. They're just encouraged to do their very best, and they don't.
And this is fourth and eighth, you said?
You can be drawn at fourth, eighth, and there's a level in high school. We were just drawn for eighth grade.
So ours is just eighth.
Mhm. Yeah. Yep. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, soup report.
I'll have to say, it's a little weird looking out in the audience tonight.
I
You
know.
Seeing those old faces,
I
I mean,
know.
those
Old.
previous faces.
Old.
Good to see you guys. Very
Yeah.
nice. Yeah. I wasn't talking about you, Rich. So I just briefly mentioned that Tina's saying there is a House Bill 279, which was passed in this recent legislative session, is a law that where anybody can donate up to $200,000. Used to be $150. So it's a pretty big jump from $150 to $200,000. And in a nutshell, what they can do is you get a 1-for-1 tax break. So if you donate $200,000, you get a $200,000 tax credit on your taxes, basically. So, and there's a limit to it. There's a $200,000 limit, obviously, but there's no limit going down. You can donate whatever you want to donate. It can be to a public school or a private school. I will tell you, this bill was written in part and parcel by our now governor, who wasn't governor at the time. And some of it is, you could do it like this. It's whoever does it first, whoever turns it in first gets that credit, essentially. So if 5 people with $200,000 each did it, and that could happen very easily, actually, that $1 million is gone. So there's nobody else can do it. So at that point in time, that's it for the year. And then and they can do it the next year too. And the next year, I think every year, well, not a little bit, I think it goes up. I don't remember the number of that and so on. So, but they have to use, and it won't be a problem. They have to use, I think it's 70 or 80% of it has to be donated of that 1 million. Well, they'll get the million. That won't be a case, because I'm not going to go into my politics on this, I think, but in the end of the day, you will have several people, large donors donating to this. I really believe that, and so whether they're the first ones or not, I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work exactly. When they've done this before with the transformational learning grant and a couple other grants that they did. I don't know if you remember these, Cindy, but you had to sit by your computer, and they did 8 o'clock. You had to sit there and push that button and hope you were one of the first ones to push your button. And if you weren't, then you didn't get it. So we got one of them, but we didn't get the transformational learning. I don't think we've applied for that one, but we got the other one. So sometimes you get lucky and get it, and sometimes you don't. It'll be interesting to see how it all transpires. So we'll get this out. We'll send the information out to parents, and I don't know how we can get it out to the community, maybe through the paper or something. I don't know, but anybody can do it, essentially. And so it can be as little as $5. I guess it could be $1 if you want it to be. and so, and all the way up to 200,000. So it's an interesting bill. We'll see how it shakes out, and who gets it and who doesn't. So
When do they divvy that up among the schools? Is that-
it goes directly to, it doesn't get divvied. So like if Jane Wheeler, she's got a lot of money, she wants to donate $200,000 to West Valley School, it goes to West Valley School. So, and that's how it works.
But if
so-
somebody wanted to give $10 to West Valley.
Yeah,
it'd be the
yeah,
same
that could happen too,
idea, right?
so, I mean, I don't know, it's hard to say how it's gonna work.
Sounds like a mess of paper.
So,
yeah.
Now, 1 million aggregate was for the entire state, right?
The whole entire state, yeah.
So it's
But
not
it's
gonna go,
divvied up among other
it's not gonna go far.
schools. So, yeah.
So we'll be looking for
Five
that. If
schools
you have any
might get
questions or
to-
anything, we'll send it out to folks, so at least they have the opportunity to do it if they want to. Once they get to that $1 million mark, other people who did do it, because you can still, obviously put your money in there, they must just get refunded, I guess. I'm not exactly sure.
Sounds like
I'm not sure how that
Yeah.
works. Anyway. Well, I'm glad Cindy Foley's here tonight, because I do have something to say about her, and it's pretty nice for the most part. So,
Well, I'm glad I
yeah,
showed
so,
up.
anyway, she has agreed to come on this Wednesday, and work with Cecilia and impart all of her knowledge on her business management skills. Although we're using a different platform now, that might be a little tricky, but we're really glad that she's able to do that, and come in, because it's going to benefit Cecilia a great deal, even though she does have a mentor. Heather from Hattiesburg is her mentor, and she's been here once and going to come back here again in the near future. So, so thank you for coming in and getting that set up, and we'll get a plan together, and that'll help Cecilia out a great deal as well. So appreciate that. Heidi Durbin, our new food service director, she wrote and received a grant for almost $3,200, and it's to purchase a new milk cooler. So that's pretty cool. Brand new person on staff wrote a grant and got that. So pretty nice. And I want to thank a great basketball season, the players, coaches, parents, everybody who participated in it. I think it was a great season. Rich, I want to thank you for the great work you do, getting practice times organized, games organized, just trying to find ways to make the program better. So appreciate that. So, and that's all I have tonight, because I know we got a large list of things to go through. So, there you go.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, moving on to action items, consideration of resignation of Stacy Tadlock, special education teacher.
Yeah. So she was our brand new special education teacher this year, and her husband works for Weyerhaeuser, and he took a job in Michigan, and she's going with him. So nothing too much we can do about that one. So, and that's, we do have that open, but I'll be surprised if we can find a special ed teacher at this point in time. Here we might, so we're also going to, we have opened it up for just certified teachers in general. And so we'd have a certified staff member working with those kids, because they usually work in groups of 4 or 5, something like that.
10 at the middle school, but like 4 to 10.
So, and then we can have one of our special ed teachers on staff do the IEPs. So that'll be beneficial as far as that goes. So, and we're looking at a way to, because they would have to do this outside of school. They don't have time to do it in school. So we're looking at a way to compensate them for that, for being able, because it would take extra time. We have 80 IEPs or something like that.
So their caseloads are up around 40 each. And so that's, so they would be testing on site, but writing those IEPs outside of school.
So anyways, that's why.
All right. Motion to accept her resignation.
I move to accept the resignation of Stacy Tadlock.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Consideration of new hire Shannon Allard, elementary para.
So this was the para position we opened up. It was we still weren't fully staffed like we, wanted to be at the beginning of the year. Richard interviewed with a team of folks last week and offered her the position. She does have a little bit of school experience, so that's helpful. And I would highly recommend her the position.
Motion to hire Shannon Allard.
Seconded.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consideration of girls basketball coaching hires, David Baker, 8th grade, Terry Deerenfield, 7th grade, Jessica Levitt, 6th grade, and Carla Scott, 5th grade.
And I think that's gonna change a little bit. It looks like we have a lot of 8th grade girls, and Rich can probably talk to this too, if you'd like. So we're probably more than likely going to have 2 8th grade girls teams. And so like we did before, and I know, and I think it was Justin that brought that up last time, we'll make sure that we have a special board meeting before we actually have this person start, you know, and work. But they're going through the background check and all that kind of stuff right now. So making sure that we do have somebody we feel like, you know, would be a good fit for that. We want to make sure Rich is not quite 100% convinced we're going to have enough, but pretty sure. Is that fair to say?
Yeah,
Okay.
based off last year's.
So other than that, it looks like we'd move, this is, you know, I would recommend approval of all the coaches. Where they're all going to be is not necessarily etched in stone yet. So.
Are the 8th grade girls gonna have their separate schedules then, 2 teams, or?
Oh, two completely different teams.
I'll make a motion to hire all those listed on item C.
A second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Consideration of student attendance agreements attending West Valley School.
So these were, it's a 1st and 4th grader, same family, and they recently moved to Summers. And so they would like to be able to finish out the school year here. And I know that we did close off open enrollment, which is what this would be now. However, these kids have started here and it's not burdening those classrooms, you know, anymore. They will have to pay for open enrollment prorated, you know, to however many months are left in the school year. So I would recommend letting them stay in the 1st and 4th grade classrooms.
I would make a motion to allow the 1st and 4th grade students to continue attending West Valley School.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, consideration of admin pay scale change.
So this hasn't been done for a while. And so our pay scale went for basically 6 steps essentially. And so what happens after a little bit of time is one, and this is a good thing. One, our teachers are paid at about the same scale roughly as Kalispell School District, more or less, a little bit. It changes a little bit as the more you go into the years. But if you just took the first lane and you stayed in that first lane of a pay scale and went all the way down to year 12, essentially, the teachers at West Valley actually make more than Kalispell school district employees do, teachers do. It's about $20,000 roughly more. It does kind of filter itself out as it goes along there, but we don't necessarily compare ourselves to that, but I did give you a scale. I think if you could read it, it was pretty small.
No, it's pretty small.
But it did show some of the school districts around. It's got Evergreen, it's got Kalispell's, it's got Lakeside Summers, Columbia Falls, and Whitefish's pay scale for administration. So what I did, basically when I looked at this new scale, and I had Tina and Richard kind of put one together too, is when I looked at the top paying teacher, what they make. So right now that's about $75,000 roughly is what that top teacher makes. And as a daily wage, it's $418, I think, dollars is what it was. And so if you did that on a 187-day contract, $418 per day, and did it for 210 days for an admin, it would come out to be $87,780. That's where the starting pay would be if they got the same daily rate as that teacher. So when you look at it as administration, I don't say promote it, but to entice people into administration to some degree, there has to be some sort of pay scale that's, more than what a teacher would make, and looking at a daily rate, not the overall what they would make but as a daily rate. So that's kind of where we started from. But the one I put together, what I did was I took that top paid teacher position at around $75,000, and I did a 5% increase over that, added it to that. And that's where you get this first one, which is the one that I think I put together here, which is, I don't know if you can see it. There's 2 different ones. One has a sheet that just has steps, and there's only 1 step in each one of them, basically, except for the very first one. And then the second one has, where you look at it, there's two, it goes from 0, 1, that's one step, that'd be 2 years, 2, 3, that's the second step. Does that make sense? So the first one is the one that I put together, and that's where I did the 5% and added it to it. And then from there, when I started looking at it, I just looked at it from a yearly perspective. One, as an administrator, they don't get the master's stipend, you know, where certified teachers can, if they've got a master's, they get a stipend for it. They also get a longevity stipend, you know, so looking at that, that's how I built that and looked at it from a 1,500 to 2,000, 2,500, 3,000 and 3,500 increase as it went. And so that's where you get those numbers from. And then I did the same thing, since if that one goes up, the superintendent one needs to follow suit, basically. So when you look at that, and so I did a 5% increase and did the same formula for that. Tina and Richard, when they put the one that I asked them to, because they wanted a different perspective on it too. And, you know, if you just look at it one way, and there's probably other ways to do it too. They did the kind of the same thing, except they did it in, you know, 2-year step increments where you'd stay at one place for 2 years, basically. Does that make sense? Okay. And then I did the superintendent one of that part. So in essence, what it boils down to is it gives you guys something to think about, you know, and nothing, I wouldn't say anything has to be done today necessarily, but I'd entertain any questions you have, concerns, comments, whatever. It's, you know, one of the reasons we initially put this together, put the initial salary schedule together, is because I hated negotiating every year. Cindy laughs, but that's the truth. I hated doing negotiations.
Well, you
And
should
so-
stop. You haven't asked for a raise. For
Well, I
years.
haven't asked for a raise, but you know, every year you kind of have to come back and go, okay, well, how much this year? How much this year? It's just like, okay, let's just put a schedule
Yeah.
together. That makes it easier for everybody. And it worked, you know, but now it's at a tipping point, I guess, so to speak, where it has to be looked at. So I don't think you're never, and I don't believe we'll ever get to the Kalispell. That's not the point. Okay, their pay scale is so much harder, but I will tell you this, we did have a principal here for a year who had Kalispell ties, and he liked it here, but he didn't like it to the tune of making $22,000 more a year. You know, so that's a hard one. If it was $2,200, he might still be here. 22,000, that's a lot of money for anybody, you know, to do and go someplace else to do the exact same thing. You're not doing anything different, you know, so we know that we're never going to get to that point as far as that goes. And we're super glad that we can compensate our teachers fairly. I wish we could compensate them even more, but, you know, there's different, you know, there's different perks in every little contract, but we try to put it together as fair as we could. And so when you look at it, if you have questions about it, yeah, ask them.
So give me a little history on raises over a 10-year period. What does it look like if you go back 10 years?
Just for an admin?
Yeah.
So if you look at it, so basically what it would look like for admin is that right there. So that's
That first
their
line there?
steps, yeah. So you gotta keep in mind though, too, this is like whatever your base is. Let's say your base for this one is 84,523. And generously every year, you know, like if there's a raise, if the union negotiates a raise, and let's say they get a 2% raise, our base goes up 2% as well. So that, and we're not part of the union, but so does the classified
Yeah.
staff. And we've always done that, you know, for the most part. So, and that seems fair, you know, but that's what it looks like. So when you go into those steps, you know, that's how it's set
Okay,
up.
so I'm starting to understand. So this first page is where we currently are
Mhm.
and set up, and these other pages are what we consider going
So
to.
if you look at this,
first column.
this first
Yeah.
column is where we are.
Yep.
Yeah, and then this over here is where it would be. And this
Okay.
is the daily rate.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
with you now.
And I will say this too, that, and they didn't pay me to say it either, that these principals work extremely hard every day. They do. They, you know, they're out there. Oh, Gimpy over here, she's moving around too, doing a good job, you know, as best she can, you know, and I know Richard's out there all the time in classrooms and you know, they work hard. And some of these places too, you have to keep in mind, they have assistant principals also. So if you look at that, a lot of them do, almost all of them do. We don't really have an assistant principal. We have a behavior specialist, you know, working with us, but it's not really the same thing. A lot of them will do a combination of an AD, half principal, assistant principal. And that's you know, when you start doing that, like I've always said, there's so much pie out there. Once you take that pie, it gets shorter, it shrinks everywhere else, you know, and so, and we've talked about it, you know, adding some of those things too. And you're gonna get to a point where you have to, where you're gonna have to. I mean, really, I don't know if we're there yet. They'd say yes, probably, but, and I would too. But I don't know if we're there financially quite yet. You know, so, but it's gonna happen. It's gonna need to happen.
Well, and it's not just keeping the people you have, if you have to replace them.
Yeah.
You kind of have to have something that will entice people, because there's a shortage of administrators across the state.
And less going into it all the
Yeah.
time.
Yep, and people dropping out, especially this year, which I think I have to deal
Yeah.
with, so.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to keep people and attract those people.
So, and you know, one thing too, it's a non-negotiating year coming up this year. And so it'll probably be, if you are going to do something like this, it's already set for what the teachers are gonna, their raises set already, you know, so it'd
So
be a
would it
good
go up even
transition
more?
year. Yeah, it'd be a good transition year to do it. And we're in our population isn't dwindling, so A and B wise, we're not gonna have too much to worry about, I don't think. Unless we can't build a building, then you got a lot to worry about. So anyways, yeah, I'll entertain any questions you have and comments, concerns.
I don't know, I'm just trying to decide the benefit between the holding for 2 years or 1 year at a time, because I know it's kind of nice looking forward to having a raise every year. Oh, go ahead, you go.
It's, I can't really, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's, I think it's 5,000 or less on the gain overall on
yeah,
that.
Oh,
But what
it's
it does is
smaller.
it allows you you gain it earlier and then you stay there for 2 years. And I think it honors experience, but I looked at other states and they tend to go in those 2 years and then they go to 3 to 5 year chunks. So you're not always gaining as you get, you can't accelerate for the rest of all time. I felt like what Cal did helped bring it up to speed a little bit by adding over time, the amount increased on, gained, which will help match the kids and what we're bringing in, right? Because the A and B needs to support it. But it also allows you to get there a little bit sooner, which might keep it competitive versus losing someone coming, getting 2 or 3 years experience and then leaving to go somewhere else.
Right.
It kind of honors that a little bit earlier. I wrote it out longer. I am off scale on our current one. Next year I would have 7 years experience and I'm off of our scale. So I think, Richard, would you be at 5 going into next year's your 5th year? So anyways, it's less volatile that I guess you get there and you're there for 2 years. I guess maybe in your mind having one every year, but I think it honors it a year sooner and you stay there for the year longer. Right. Which means like next year I would be in a stay, I would be in the bottom of something for a couple of years. It didn't necessarily do myself any favors on my end, but when I look at bringing a principal in and what it takes and that you're doing, whether you're brand new or not, you're doing that same job. And I know that over time you're worth your, you put a lot into it and you learn a lot, but you stand, I guess, hand in hand with those other administrators around you when you're doing similar work. So I guess it kind of lends itself to eventually going to probably one after that where you're probably on a like a 3-year stay.
Yeah, you could look at that in a different way because eventually it just can't keep
Right.
going. So you look at something like a COLA or something like that,
Well, is there either scale that you prefer? You prefer the 2.
What?
You prefer, I know that.
No,
you're
I'm not gonna say no.
Well,
I don't
Tina likes
even
the
know.
2 year.
I
don't
prefer
care.
the one that
Yeah.
I made, and I
You
think
like-
that it brings it brings my principal partner up a little bit sooner because I feel like he does the job. It doesn't really benefit me in my spot other than putting me on the scale in a spot where I don't have to negotiate, but I'm totally willing to negotiate too. Totally.
You guys have never tried it. You've never negotiated.
I know, but I can now because
Yeah,
I'm off the
right,
scale.
yeah.
So I'm totally willing. It didn't do a lot, but it brings those that are up and coming
Yeah.
or like I say, Richard at this point is in the same job I'm doing there. And I guess it just honors that a little bit sooner. It's not much more on the overall, but it brings it that higher pay to the first year of every 2-year piece.
Well, and something to think about too is that eventually we're all not gonna be here one way or the other. So, and when you go to recruit new people, and we've done this before. We've had people turn down jobs, especially like a principal, we had a guy turn down a principal job, he was from Havre. Because he was making more there than we could offer him here, and the cost of living here was higher, you know, so there's some of that too, you know, where you have to adjust it for, I mean, our cost of living is going up.
Yeah.
You know, they get any cheaper here.
So on this, the first one that you put together, the third individual years, what's that last column there that include each year or including each year? Incremental each year, is that what that is?
Oh, increase each year.
So it's
Yeah.
bumping up by that much
Yeah,
each year?
yeah.
Okay.
So I don't, to answer your question, Stephanie, I don't really have a preference.
You don't.
Cost of living, is that,
Cost of living adjustment.
which is nowhere close to inflation right now.
Right.
Can't begin to hope to ever pay, compensate somebody that's gonna move from Havre and has to buy a house here.
No,
We
No.
can't ever begin to hope.
there's not even a house to buy.
Yeah, if there was one to buy, yeah.
So you said this was just for our consideration tonight. we don't need to do
Well, we
You guys
can.
can do whatever, yeah, it's an action item, but you can do whatever, yeah.
So if we did approve this today, it would take place in
Next
2022.
school year.
Starting next year. I personally am in favor of doing all we can to attract the best. So I'm personally in favor of doing this and doing it now. So I would like to move to go ahead and accept the second one there, in the 2-year badging.
I would second the motion.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
I was just looking at like the 1 year for the principals kind of matches up, you know, with the 2-year jumps to the second, to the 2-year proposal. Whereas the 1-year proposal for the superintendent doesn't match up with the 2-year jumps. And is that just an oversight in the calculations, or is that an intended thing?
I look at it again, so I can.
Yeah. you have-
I did that though, so I think are you talking about the second one where you stay in one, the one Tina did?
Right.
Yeah.
Right, just where because on
I
the
purposely
principal
did
ones, they start off and kind of end at every 2 years about the same. Versus the 1 year versus the 2-year, and then the 1 year versus the 2-year for the superintendent. It just
Oh,
starts
I
at-
see what you're
starts at a
saying. Yeah, I
different
guess
level.
I just did it, yeah.
Yeah, starts at a higher level on the 2-year one.
Not that I'm opposed to it, I'm
No,
just
no,
curious
I-
if it was an
Is that
oversight.
really on the
I use
superintendent?
the
Is that on
same
the
scale. Yeah, I
superintendent?
use
Oh,
the
yeah, I
same
didn't
scale.
touch anything
I
on
use
the
the same scale
superintendent.
on that one, so I just did a 5% on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't alter that at all. The super.
So
Thank you.
Tina did the first one, and Cal, you worked on the superintendent one. Right?
Yes.
Cal, you may have this information just kind of in your brain, but I don't see a comparison for superintendents across the valley. Is it?
I do have it in my brain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just asked for the.
You don't have to give numbers.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I can do it. I don't have
How are we doing?
it. I'd say middle of the road, probably. Yeah, you know, your summers, lakeside, well, and you gotta look at like, it's all public knowledge anyway, so it's not just like telling anything
Yep.
anyhow. So like Laurie at Evergreen, I think is 125. And a little bit of an outlier, because, you know, it's a K, it's, you know, usually not quite that much, you know, but Kalispell, he just got a raise, I think, so he's probably close to 170, you know, somewhere in that ballpark, you know, so, and everywhere in between, you know, you got Whitefish, who's probably 130-ish, 135, Columbia Falls right in that same ballpark, you know, somewhere in there. You know, they have high schools, Big Fork, I think, is 120, 125, you know, somewhere in there, so, yeah. Yeah, close, they're close, not exact.
So we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
No.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
Thank you.
yes, thank you. You guys worked hard. All right,
Right, early, oh, sorry, yeah.
early retirement incentive.
So this is something we did a couple years ago, and for various reasons. Let me be real clear. I want to be super clear on this. We do not want to lose any of our staff members, okay, at all, period, end of the story. However, we want to give them an opportunity if they want to do it. And here's part of the reasoning for it. An opportunity for an early retirement is that Kalispell recently held a retirement seminar, basically. And I believe they had upwards of almost 300 people there. And so that doesn't mean they're all going to retire this year coming up, but within 3 years, they probably will be. So one of the things for doing an early retirement incentive does, it gives you the opportunity for people who are really on that cusp of probably going to do it really soon anyways. It gives them the opportunity to take advantage of that. It also gives the school an opportunity to take advantage of finding a replacement earlier than, say, like a Kalispell. But the pool's only so deep. So when you go out to hire for positions, West Valley is an attractive place to come to. People like to come to West Valley, but they also like to come to Kalispell. And Kalispell tends to get people sooner a lot of times than we do. So one thing that this does, it does help get the word out there sooner if we have openings, and we can get them filled before even Kalispell and those other schools open up positions. So it helps that way. It helps the bottom line a little bit too, to where you can do some different things. We've never, I don't know, gosh, when was the last time we passed a levy? 2007, I think, or something like that. So we haven't, and I haven't ran it every year, but we haven't had to, and we've been able to add a great deal of positions to the staff without doing any of that. So this would help with some of that as well. So, and it gives people an opportunity if they choose to do it. And I've talked to several of them, and I think I have about 4 that are pretty solid that they would do it. And that's all I know at this point in time. So, yeah, so and that's all I'll say. So I think it's a good opportunity, you know, for folks if they want to take advantage of it and maybe go a year or 2 early. So. And you do something. Oh, and I ran it by the union. I didn't hear back, but I hear back from Mark, I think, and he said that everybody was fine with it. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Where are you people go?
Yes, okay.
Do we have to have a minimum of 3 do it for? to
Yeah,
make it cost
that's what we
effective?
put as a placeholder to make it even financially. I guess.
So the big reason we want to do this is so that we can get the jump on.
It's not the
other-
big reason, it's a reason.
Mhm.
Some of it's financial, you know, some of it's, and some of it's an opportunity for folks that if they're getting close, they can choose that. You know, because some of those people that are getting close, they also have there's other benefits they can take just in their CBA. If they've been here a certain amount of time, 15 years,
Mhm.
and I think have 25 years, correct me if I'm wrong, is that right? 25 years and 15 in West Valley, they can choose to take healthcare benefits for 3 years or a $7,500 bonus. Most of them take the healthcare benefits because it's more beneficial. So do that.
When was the last time we did this?
Oh, it's like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So this is only like a one-time thing. then?
Yeah,
This
you
is
don't
like
do it every year.
Every 5 years
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
just wanted to.
And we had
Clarify.
quite
You
a few.
can, it
I
can
just
be
wanted,
done.
I like if one person's putting in
Yeah,
every
no.
year waiting
No.
for their 2 other people to jump on board, so.
Some districts do, bigger ones especially, they just keep it in there.
They're like, I'll give you a lot of
Yeah, yeah.
I get it now.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think since I've been on the board, it's only happened once. Since,
Second.
yeah, so this will be the second time.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'd hate to see several of these people go when they're on the list, but I understand the reason for it. Sure.
Yeah.
It's gonna be tough to replace them with the current market.
Yep. That's scary. Yeah.
So did it get approved last time?
Yep.
5 years ago?
And how many people took it? We had quite a batch. Yeah, I was gonna say it was like 10 people, 8 people.
It was a different dynamic.
Yeah.
I just say that.
So you talked to 4 of these people on this
I've
list.
talked to more than 4 of them.
Okay, and you, so you know we've got enough that are willing to take it, that if we vote to do it, it will
I
happen.
would say yes, yeah.
Unless life changes between now and when they sign.
Yes.
But
Yeah, I would hate to see people.
Well,
leave
last
too,
time
and I
we
would
did
hate to incentivize people to leave, but honestly, if they're leaving for the right reasons,
Yeah.
for their family and
Exactly.
for their lives, then I think it's worth it for them.
Last time
be
I had
able to
6
give them
people at my
something
door
in
Monday
return.
morning.
Yeah.
6 people were waiting outside my door Monday morning. I didn't got here yet.
Oh, when we did it last time?
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
They can't make
Yeah, we have
TikTok
6
videos.
total.
that
The
they
6 total.
quit.
So technically, all of them could on this list.
They could, but they're,
You won't
I'll
get all of
reassure you that they're not all going.
And
to.
do you explain the red versus the yellow?
Yeah, so red
Oh,
is,
it's
it's
on
on
there?
there, yeah. Means that they've been at West Valley for 15 years, qualify for bonus retirement to the CBA and longevity stipend, so they would start that too
Yeah.
next year. And red is 15 years and would start getting the stipend and red highlight is 15 years at West Valley. Yeah, okay.
All
So
right.
they're done, they'd be done in this spring, right?
Correct.
So we'd be looking at replacing these.
They would, but they have to put it in by February 1st, and that's where, where we can
That's
get,
where you gain.
you can, well, that, and you can open it up quicker.
Yeah.
Start recruiting.
Gotcha.
I'll make a motion to accept or implement the early retirement incentive.
Second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And so, yeah, all right. Consideration of middle school yearbook position, Mary Kay Dover.
Mary Kay here.
She was.
Didn't have to be, that's okay. We're getting bigger, obviously. And Melanie Renovar has done this, doing the yearbook by herself. She gets kids to help too, but she, is the only adult basically. And so I guess you kind of have to look at it like if West Valley wasn't one big building and it had separate, middle school and a separate elementary like most do, that we would have our own yearbook at each place. And that's what we're looking at doing this year. So Mary Kay would be the one that would do the middle school end. And I think that's going to be 5 through 8, is that right? 5 through 8, and then K4 for the other one. So it helps Melanie a lot. She's done a great job over the years, doing the yearbook. And Mary Kay has a little bit of experience at it too. And so I would recommend Mary Kay for the middle school yearbook position. And that comes with a, got my notes here somewhere, $1,114 stipend.
And that's for this year.
Yes.
Does she want to do it?
Yes.
Well, we may help with
She's not here, but send her.
Who else can we sign
What
up
else
there?
do we Okay. All right, we need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve Mary Kay Dover as the middle school yearbook position.
I'll second it.
All right, motion and second. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, now, big one.
So, yeah, this is the big one on the agenda, I guess. There's a couple of them, but we do have Fran and Shane here, Sean, sorry. Shane, from Cushing Terrell to answer any questions we might have as well. I would just say, I would reiterate a lot of what Tina said. To be perfectly honest with you, running bond is a ton of work, and if we're gonna do it, we have to do it right, I think, and it isn't that we all have to be on the same page, but we all have to be, I think, promoting it, if we decide to do it, because, and I'm not asking you how you're gonna vote or any of that kind of stuff, but I'm just saying that if a board is not united, on something like this, it's pretty much not going to go through, and it doesn't mean, you can, like I said, vote however you want to vote, but end of the day, like Tina said, if we don't do it this spring, well, I guess my first question would be, is there anybody, and I don't want to put you on the spot necessarily, but is there anybody on the board who doesn't feel it's necessary to redo something, like facility wise? Because I would say, there's, the reality of it is if we don't, I mean, you're looking 3 years, probably less than that down the road, where you're going to have 30+ kids in a classroom. You're going to, I mean, we can't even really truly fully understand the growth we're going to have. We can guesstimate pretty close, but I would say within 3 years, definitely 5, you're going to have over 1,000 kids in the school, and that's not too far down the road, and so in my mind, we have to do something, and the steering committee, we're for several months on it and came up with the proposal of a new middle school and a $27 million bond, which was the most we could do. It's the most bonding capacity we have. Probably, it's hard to say, looking at all of it, it's probably the best way to go for a good 15 years down the road at least. And we, of course, we thought this was going to last more than 8 years too, or whatever, but you just never can predict that 100%, but that would definitely open up more space here, open up more space in the new school. So I guess what I'm saying is I want to hear from you guys, what you think and how we go forward. And we got folks here who can answer questions if need be. And yeah, so there we go.
My personal opinion is sooner the better. It could easily fail the first time, but it gets people thinking about it. So might as well get it started now versus wait. But that's my personal thing.
Well, and who created the survey? Did you guys create the survey that you sent out that we were talking about?
Actually, Corey did a lot of it, and I don't know how much was done from some of the other folks and had some contributing to it. But we sent it back because there were some concerns with some of the questions and different things. And I know Marilyn, one of hers was the picture of the middle school, and it looks, I think your words was fancy. Looks too fancy. That doesn't necessarily, that's just kind of like a mock-up, I guess. It doesn't necessarily mean what it's going to look like. So when I don't want to put you on the spot. But once the bond passes, that's when the work begins on what actually you're going to put the pencil to paper and what it's going to look like.
My objection to it was that, we send this out to the people and they take a look at that school and it has tables out in the courtyard and it has a whole bunch of windows and it just looks like a very fancy school. And the steering committee, there were members on the steering committee and they were Zoom meetings, which I don't like Zoom meetings. I think the one meeting we had as a steering committee where everybody was in here, there was some really good stuff happening with that one. Then we reverted back to Zoom for whatever reason. And I just don't think that people had enough say about what that school was going to look like. I think by and large, everybody agreed that yes, we needed to build another middle school and convert what we have here into a first class, K through 5 or whatever, however we decide to separate it. But that was a pretty much consensus. But there wasn't really so much a consensus on what that school was going to look like. So and then the second part that I looked at was the questionnaire that was sent out. Okay, the first question says, would you vote for this bond levy? This was on the survey. That's good. I mean, okay, the second question should have been, would you not vote for this? It wasn't. The second question was, or is it too expensive? What? You set up a negative, it's negative from the get-go. Yes, I'll vote for it. And then there was a little circle that said, or is it too expensive? Where did that come from? Why is it just not, would you vote for it? Would you not vote for it? And comments.
And we had that changed.
Or maybe,
And we had that changed.
would you vote for it? And then if not, please explain and let people just come up with
Well,
their own
see,
reasoning instead of putting the words in their mouth of like,
That's exactly right. And that's why I thought if you said, yes, I would vote for it, no, I wouldn't vote for it. And then right after the no vote, say comments, which is saying what you're saying.
we can alter that survey before
Yeah,
it
it's
goes
being
out.
changed right now as we speak.
But my
Yeah,
point
yeah.
is,
So
bringing that up is if we decide.
that's why we sent it out to you guys first and to the steering committee, so you could get some comments back on it before we sent it out to everybody else. So,
But if
yeah.
we agree to put the bond out there, I don't know why we're doing the survey, because whoever answers that survey is we're not gonna know until they actually went for the vote. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
right.
So it's like I hate surveys because you only get so many people responding, and then those people think that you're gonna do exactly what the survey says. And it creates problems, and until the person has the ballot in their house, or if they come here and they vote, we're not gonna know.
Well, I guess technically it depends on what you do tonight as a board. If you say, we're gonna go forward with this, you don't really
No,
need
that's
to
what
do
I'm
the
saying.
survey.
We don't need the
at that point in
survey.
time.
Okay with that.
Well, what were you gonna say?
I just something to add on to that. So in our process through this discovery and bond promotion phase, so we've had one apply session, and our goal is to get community feedback, because ultimately we have the ability to maybe put less glass in the building or take the tables out of the courtyard. So if we get some feedback from the community that we want to adjust before we go out to bond, that's the beneficial benefit of going forward with the survey. So
Okay.
there's still time to
Okay,
react.
so
to
there
speak.
was, okay,
And there's still ways of adjusting things like Marilyn said, if we have a steering committee working on, let's maybe not play up the courtyard and make it too
Right.
fancy. that
Yep.
kind of thing.
well, and can we talk about the steering committee? Because I know initially, whenever we have these, in the past, we have people representing the board. And I wasn't on it because I thought Marilyn and who else, were you, have you been going to all the meetings?
I missed a couple just because
Okay.
I was out.
Yeah, so we didn't know that, so we've only had one board member. I could have attended, but you have to be careful because if we have a quorum of the board, then we have to post a meeting.
Right.
So that's why I have not attended, but then to find out we only have one board member there, it's kind of a problem. So I guess we need to, if we move forward, make sure that we have at least, well, we have to have two of us there so that. we
I think it would be okay because it's not you're not making decisions at that meeting.
Well,
at
if
the
you start,
steering
if you
committee
start
meeting,
talking
so
about stuff,
Maybe,
Yeah,
I have
I
to look
think,
at
I
that.
think she's right though. I think
Yeah.
if we had a quorum present, that we would have to post it.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
And
So,
would-
but we could do a rotating scenario where at least two of us
Yes.
on a rotation would attend the meeting and then we'd all be a little bit more enlightened on
Yeah.
it. Sure. So.
Good, because I don't want the whole responsibility.
Or maybe Marilyn stays and then the other
Yeah.
person
Yeah,
rotates.
yeah, right. You
Yeah.
know, because honestly, there's been, like the last one, I could have joined, but I was like, oh no, I thought there were two people there. And then she's like, no, I think I'm the only one there. I'm like, well, okay.
I was, the only one I think I missed was the in-person one.
Oh, that was.
Oh, so you have them.
Yeah.
On the
Okay.
Zoom ones, yeah.
Okay.
But there wasn't, there wasn't a whole lot to decide.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there wasn't. I mean, we went over
The same thing.
early on, just kind of where location might fit or, you know, do we want to do middle school versus elementary? Kind of hammered out some of those decisions. but-
But we all need to be in on.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
When I thought of zooming in the last time and I had the same thought you were, if there's already two people in there and they
Yeah.
pop on, then what rules are we breaking at that moment? So.
I think, yeah, we need to move forward. I mean, I'm just looking at property around us getting bought up. I should assume we're not gonna have any other options other than this three-story building.
Well, and getting things in the hands of the people and the parents and the
Yeah.
taxpayers is what's important too. And like Tina said, if they don't get a chance to vote on it, they don't know how they feel. I think the benefit of the survey is getting back information of the concerns, not whether or not somebody's voting yes or no, but what are your concerns? That's the information that can help us moving forward with design, with presenting the bond, that kind of stuff. So.
I just, this Vault Media, they were gonna do the video that was gonna encourage, show people just exactly how crowded we are and help us with that. Will that go out before the survey goes out or not? No, it'll go out
Probably gonna
afterwards.
take them longer.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
I
and-
figured it would,
yeah.
but I just wanted to ask that because they're going, so what people are gonna be expected to answer on the survey is what they know now,
Yeah.
basically.
Right.
Okay.
And the survey doesn't cost us any money either.
No.
But I agree with Marilyn. I think I would like to present, not a bare bones school building, but I think when we're asking for this much money, knowing that we're gonna be a good steward of it, we're not creating this.
What we need is space.
You don't want
We
a
need
spa.
Well, I
And
think
I-
there's a balance, because if you've heard the public grumbling over the Gallatin High School, you will understand that you cannot build something that looks like a prison. Or people will say
Is
it.
that what it looks like?
Oh, yeah, very much so. It has little windows. It's very,
Oh.
it honestly really does look prison-like, and the public is vocal about it. Very vocal, even to where I heard comments about it when I was in a basketball game over in Great Falls this weekend. So we do want to obviously present something that looks nice, but we don't want to luxury it, right?
I
So
just-
there's that
I
balance.
was just picturing those little picnic tables out in the snow.
We should have brushed those off every day.
Feels dedicated.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have to decide how much we want to bond out right now? Or we don't have to decide that? When do we, have to- what's the date?
Well, you have to, I think you're gonna decide, yeah, pretty much. What you're gonna decide is what you want to do. Like, it's gonna be middle school bonding out for the 27 million. You
I
know,
thought you guys
Can
said
we
no, you didn't think
shoot
that.
high and then say, oh, we're actually only gonna ask for 25? I mean, can we approve 27 tonight and then in reality go down?
I would. So simply because I would never, and this is just me, I would never ask for more than what you need. And then if you do, because here's what happens, then some districts have done this. Let's say they run a $27 million bond and it fails. They say, well, we'll try for 18. People are going, well, so you didn't need that $9 million,
Yeah.
extra.
How much do you really need that?
So if you need 27 million, it doesn't pass first time, you run it for 27 million again.
Yeah.
Or whatever,
Right.
the number is. So that's just my fault. That's,
Do we have to use the full 27 million? That's, I guess.
well, there's a couple options. So there was a 24 million one where it would just be the new school and you wouldn't do anything to this school, pretty much. So the extra 3 million would help enhance some of the older parts of the building and probably demolish some of the parts of the building that need to be demolished. So, and it doesn't amount, I mean, I know 3 million, that's not that much, right? 3 million, yeah. If you look at it per person, how that works out, it's not a huge amount more, I guess, at that point in time, but that's, so if you're asking me, I would do the full 27. But
I can't see where we, if we build a middle school and then this school is expected to become the elementary school, but we're not gonna do anything to it. That isn't, the voters are gonna look at that kind of funny, I think.
And we were very fortunate last time to be able to do a lot. We would just hit at the exact right time too. I mean, we passed about a $7 million bond and almost $1 million of it we could use for fixing up that old part of the building, which was really bad shape because we didn't want, I'll just use the terminate or whatever some people said, we don't want the Taj Mahal over here and the ghetto over here. So we fixed it up the best we could. We did, and we did a lot of work. Every classroom got new desks and chairs and furniture too. And so we were fortunate. Pencils were a lot sharper back then. Contractors were a lot less busy. Right now, I couldn't even tell you how long it felt. You might pass that bond in the spring and you might not be done for 3 years. I mean, it's, very possible. And all those 3 years, guess what's still happening in West Valley? That's what we're talking about. So if you wait and wait, that's just gonna continue to, and the cost isn't gonna stay the same either. So you got all those things that are gonna change in that as well, so. And we can, I think obviously promoting it is the key, but being very transparent in what you need. I mean, people need to see it. And I think when we go into some of the other things, using like the bulk media, that would be an excellent way for people to see, how exactly what the school looks like, and especially at certain times of the day. I know Richard's a big fan of everybody being here, during lunch recess time, because everything's chaotic and whatnot. The cafeterias and drop-off times and all those kinds of things, and that's only going to get more and more crowded, as we go. So.
I thought we had a good start in the Interlake. They had a picture of our kids eating lunch. Looked like they were rather packed together. And that was a pretty good start for publicity.
Okay, well. Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Yep. Go for it.
To what? Move to go to our full bonding capacity?
Bond 27 million.
For spring.
Or, yeah.
Yep.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, now we have to buy land.
Yeah.
Now we need a place to put it.
Some of it's good. So
Well, right.
this is really about, I think, the only option we have left, because the one over at Meadows Edge, where if you've been by there, which I'm sure you have, they're tearing up the ground there. That's where they were gonna give us, or well, not give us, but maybe let us buy some land there. Well, I think they changed their mind, because they haven't really been in contact. I tried to contact them a couple times, and so they're realizing they can make a lot more money building houses and doing that. So, which is fine. That's their prerogative. And then I had another conversation with a fellow named Bill Goldberg. And he is the one that's putting together a project over off of 2 Mile and Spring Creek. Is that right? It's off, just off of 2. It's just right on the border of our lines, you know. And really, quite frankly, I went out and looked at it with them, and I'm no expert at this, but it just doesn't seem like the right location. It's kind of a little more off the beat path a little bit, you know, and so. And then working with Deb Street and the Starling Group, they've been great from the get-go, very accommodating, you know, they're giving us the 5 acres donation and then 10 acres at $27,500 an acre, which is about half of what most people are getting out there right now, especially these projects and whatnot. So, and they don't want the money. They want the money. They don't want the money until we actually pass the bond. But what they're doing for us is setting it up. They're doing the project and they're building around where the school would be, you know, so they've been very, very accommodating with us. And so, yeah, so that's where we're at with that, with the property. I mean, it's a pretty good location. It's got all the power, the water, the sewers, all
What
right
about the
there.
power lines that are running right through there?
Power lines don't go over the property.
They don't go
No.
over the piece that we got.
No.
Did anybody check to see how far we have to be from those power lines in order to build a school? 'Cause there-
You
I
could
mean,
actually build, if you wanted to, and it affected it, you could put a parking lot there.
Yes,
But
but
you can't put anything like buildings or
No.
anything where the kids will be, you know,
Right.
like a large portion of the time. So the parking lot, anything like that, but it wouldn't even affect that.
it
So,
won't. So we're saying, we're far enough away with this piece of property that the power lines are not.
Correct.
Okay, that's the only concern I had about it. Otherwise, I think it's a great piece. It's kind of far away. I wish it was a little closer
Yeah.
to the school.
Do we-
Just because it's
What the nice, yeah,
easier logistics wise, but I like the idea that it's got the infrastructure and it's got pretty good access. It's,
easy to build on, I think.
Yeah.
It's pretty
for the
flat.
most part, yeah.
so it.
And is it right, it's right on Stillwater?
If this is 4 Mile,
Yeah.
this is Stillwater, there's one little project right here that's
Right,
not
where the
connected with them.
trees were.
And then right next to that is where it
It's
is.
north.
Trees, it's
Yeah.
north.
It's north of that corner.
Yeah. You think it's a good spot? Yeah.
I agree. It would be lovely if they would just donate the land across the road from us here, right here, right? But it would be wonderful to jump in the minds of the city and find out what their reannexation plans are for the future, right? Because I have a sneaking suspicion that's coming, but we can't obviously wait around until that happens. It'd be interesting to see a reannexation that goes around our school and then incorporates all the surrounding communities around it. But there's no way to predict that, so.
And school board district boundaries are all kind of
Yep.
crazy anyway.
And one of the.
Well, and even city limits
Yeah.
reannexation is gonna happen soon, I think, so
Yeah.
I just have to be kind of cognizant.
One of the things, that is where they're starting their project too. So the houses will be in that area where the school is, because it's, their property goes all the way to Spring Creek, right? You know, so
No,
from
my
Reserve
only,
to Spring Creek to 4 Miles to Stillwater.
my only concern, and there's nothing you can do about it, but is just the crazy teenage drivers in Stillwater. In the morning, at lunch, after school, kids wreck on that road all the time. And I mean, there's nothing you can do, but just to make sure, I don't know, that to me,
Our kids can't drive, so that's a good thing.
no, they'll get hit by the high school.
No, they won't. They won't.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they gonna improve 4 Mile? So
You
the
know,
access would be off of 4 Mile, right?
That was a question I asked too, and there wasn't a definitive answer on it, but they're gonna have to. I mean, I don't know how you
I
can do
think
it.
they'll probably pave it all the way through. but-
Yeah.
And then do we have any word on with the walking path? Is that ever
The
gonna
green
happen?
belt?
Oh, you mean on Reserve?
Yeah,
Yeah. On the other
I thought
side
it was
there.
like. the next
Well, I can
week.
tell you the whole story. So it was my first year here. That was 10 years ago. And Gary Kruger came and talked to me and asked me to write some letters to whatever the department was to get it going. Okay, so we did it. And a lot of people did it. And he said, and when it passed, he got the money for it. And it was supposed to happen within a 5-year period. So that would be 5 years ago now. So now what's happening, from my understanding, what's happening is that there's still in negotiations, with a lot of people on that road for property. And because they have to pay those folks, you know, to widen. It's not putting in another lane. It's just widening the road and putting in a bike path. Well, then there was a problem with the bike path. They were going to do away with that because they couldn't find somebody to take care of it. So, which means what? Plowing it basically every once in a while, you know. So anyways,
Yeah.
that's where it's at. It's still supposed to happen. tell you when.
What were you gonna say about the drivers?
Just, nothing about the drivers, but Cal, can you confirm, is it 10 total acres or 15?
15.
Okay,
It would be
perfect.
15.
Because the current concept, and again, we've had to use a very generic site, right? Because there's nothing
Yes.
definitive, has been that 20-acre threshold. And a big reason behind that was for future growth and expansion, right? So 10 acres was appropriate at one point for a K3 school, which was very early concepts. But we do need that square footage for play fields and so
Yeah.
forth. So I think 15 is our minimum that we want to make sure we're.
Did we ever talk to her about getting another 5 and making it 20?
You could. I would.
Yeah, should we do that? I mean,
The thing about it is that,
we don't want to push it.
well, I
Well,
mean, yeah, I think that's about, what do we have? Is it 20?
20 is here.
Yeah.
This is a little over 20 on this
Yeah.
side.
So it, when you look at it, even if you had 20, and, with the ideas of maybe building a high school someday, you wouldn't be able to on that site anyways,
No.
because you already have a school on there, and then you build a high school. And I really think, I'll be honest with you, this is just me with my numbers in my head. If you bond out for all of your bonding capacity this time, it's gonna take a long time to build that bonding capacity back up. As a high school is gonna cost you at least, well, East Helena's was, I think, 26 million, and Blackwoods was 50, and that was 3 or 4 years ago. So I mean, you're looking at, and and that might even be something that never is decided to do. Glacier might have to do something, with that too, add another pod or something under there, so.
What was the conversation with the Starling project about whether, if the bond does not pass? Because we don't have to pay them if the bond
No,
passes.
no,
Until the
no,
bond passes.
we're
but
not
what
paying
if-
them
what if-
until,
what if it
that's a
doesn't
good
pass?
question. No, we're not paying until the
Okay.
bond passes, so.
Okay, so it could be 4 years down the road.
Do we have
Good
a
enough.
realtor representing us or?
Well, she is. She's a realtor,
Oh,
but
we
as
can
far
say
as,
she's
buying the property, you mean though? No. I don't know.
But
I
we
guess
can
we-
still buy the land if the bond is passed out of,
You could,
yeah, I don't know.
about
It seems like-
$275,000 roughly.
But
I guess right on for this, but-
Yeah, it'd be kind of nice to have just.
Yeah.
27
And then do we have to do any public comment periods? How does that work? with the new
When you
school
buy property,
As a school or even when we're about to build?
well, what you do when you're, when the bond passes, I always like to think it's gonna pass, right? When the bond passes, and then you get into a planning stage again. So it starts all over again. Like we worked with Cushing Terrell. I'm not throwing you in the bus, doesn't mean we will next time. It doesn't mean that we're gonna automatically work with it. It has to go out to bid.
yeah,
And so when it goes out to bid, then you get bids from companies that want to do it, want to do the project. And then you choose the one. It doesn't have to be the least expensive one necessarily. You just choose one when you want to work with. So, and then it goes from there. So that's where you get the design that actually you want for your building. That's the one they put in there, is the one they put in there. It's not necessarily what it's going to be there.
If this bond doesn't pass, and, we still want to get that land, could we ever in a million years come up with $55,000 just to pay for the other 10 acres?
275.
275.
200, okay, 200,
You can.
oh, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not exactly
I was
sure
just
how we
thinking
do it
for
right now.
acre.
I think you can do an
Not two
intercap loan for
acres.
that. You could do an
Yeah.
intercap loan
Yeah,
for
it'd
that,
be too much.
but
It'd be way too much. We'd move on.
Well, it's really not, I mean, it is too much, but it really isn't compared to what other prices are out there right now.
Do you feel like there was a risk that if the bond doesn't go through, that eventually that promise will go away?
probably,
Could be.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. They're not gonna sit on it.
They could
indefinitely.
sell that.
No,
They
but I-
really
I-
want us there. I will say
Yeah.
that, and so it does benefit them to have a school there,
Yeah.
for sure.
Bond doesn't go there.
Okay, well, do we want to make a motion? Somebody want to make a motion on what we're gonna do?
Sounds like we don't have anything else to choose from, right?
That's it.
So what do we actually have to motion here, that we're gonna give them an intent to purchase
Yes.
this land?
Yep.
So I would make a motion that we let these people know that we intend to purchase 10 acres at 27.5 per acre. Do you want to ask on 15 acres?
You mean another 5?
Get another 5, yeah.
get 20?
Get 20 total.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, consideration to use Vault Media.
So you have that packet too. You've looked through it, and I can tell you that the districts that have been fairly successful have used multi-market media
Yeah.
resources out there to get the word out. And we just can't do this stuff at school. I mean, and if you look at it, the total cost is $18,000. When you look at a $27 million bond, that's 0.0007% of what the actual cost of the bond would be. So to me, that seems like a pretty small price to pay for hopefully a successful bond, you know, and so, and we can use money from ESSER funds, and we also have some money in some Medicaid funds that we can use. So we can use too. So we have the funds available, and I just think it's what you see people doing now, and it just gets out there in so many different ways that we can't necessarily do.
Well, you need someone who's focused on doing that. Remember the last one where we were making little videos? We were filming, and it was like, oh my goodness. I mean, it worked, but
Right.
still, it was a lot of work. You
There'll be
know?
plenty of other things we have to do on that line too. One of the biggest things we did, we had a deficiency tour in the school, and we had people show up with a list of things they have to go find. They were amazed at the things. And we still had kids in the basements.
Yeah.
at that point in time. It wasn't bad basement. I mean, it's not a bad space really, but still basement. You know, so, and we still do.
And
but-
closets. Weren't there kids in
Just a
closets
small
too?
difference.
Bathrooms.
So I would strongly
Yeah.
recommend utilizing their skills and
Yep.
I think I'm highly recommended.
$8,000.
18.
18. Why does it
More.
say 8?
There's a couple sections in there.
It
It actually adds up. to
breaks
all
it
for you.
down. What they're gonna do.
And this includes even $2,000
yeah,
for them to actually do the advertising for us.
On top of this 18.
No, that's included in the 18, is advertising and everything, so.
And we didn't get any
Media
other bids
management.
from anybody else.
For that,
Yeah.
you don't have to, it doesn't have to go out to bid.
No, I just compared.
Won't have to do it.
That's keeping it online, keeping it on that website or whatever. Where do they put it?
Yeah.
Website, and it looks like they would probably reach out and put it on social media,
As long as they're not
too, Facebook and Instagram.
And you can actually go
all the
out and
grams.
paid ads too, if you want to. I mean, they don't provide the paid ad, it would cost extra to do that, but I know Columbia Falls, when they ran theirs, they had radio spots all the time on there. I think that it all helps, you know, to some degree, you know, and I'll be honest, it'll be close. I would imagine
Yeah.
it'll be close. You know, you gotta reach out to the families, you gotta reach out to the new people here
Yeah.
who probably aren't even registered to vote necessarily. So all those things, you know, you just have to be progressive.
They're paying.
But those, you gotta really.
Well, I know we do have to get the families to vote, but I mean, some of those other community members are the ones that come out, and they come out to vote, and they always come out to vote no.
Right. Yeah.
They vote
Oh, yeah, you'll
often,
know
and
the
they vote
ones.
no.
They'll be here the first day you can turn in your ballot.
Yeah.
It's down the outside. They all have hair the same color as mine.
Yeah.
I mean, not the good way.
Would we do like a voter registration drive?
We can, well, what you can do is you can just send an info, it's so easy to do, because you can do it online now. I mean, it literally takes minutes to do it, you know, so you just get the word out, you know, we've got such a better way to communicate with parents now. It's so much easier. Shoots it out, text, shoots it out, email, shoots it out, you know, all the other stuff. So,
Wait,
you know, 'cause a lot of times people, I don't know, some people get it. Anyway, so we just gotta make sure you gotta kind of just keep on a little bit without totally harassing it.
Okay, so we need a motion on the Vault Media.
A motion to use bulk media.
One second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Now consideration of portables.
I'm probably gonna make a couple people in this room a little upset with me, but after looking at the bid and understanding how much it's gonna cost to bring in these portables, that I don't, well, you're gonna be paying on it for at least 10 years, probably 15. And so by the time that's done, they're gonna be done. And you probably get past this bond. I think we can make do for the next 2-3 years, we may have to build a few more buildings out there, whatever, I don't know, we'll have to figure it out. We have to come up with some different ideas. this. I just have a really hard, I know it's gonna be hard to say, but I really have a hard time putting portables out there at that cost to the taxpayers. And how much are you really gonna use them when the bond passes?
Right.
Because I do believe, in my heart, I think it'll pass.
Well, can't
So
we
we
wait?
turn around and sell them, you know?
Yeah.
Can't we wait on the portables until after the bond passes, or is that too, you have to basically order them long in advance?
Well, at least what the lady told me today was basically, you better decide soon, because if you don't have your order in pretty much by the first of the year,
Oh,
you probably won't have them next year.
that's what I was wondering.
So, and I only got one bid so far, or one quote, I guess. But the other one, I guess, is gonna come real close. There's no bathrooms in these, there's no,
No,
Yeah,
they're
the
not
mock-up has-
it does, they had to send it that way, but we did it without, because we really can't run the pipe, you know.
That's that's.
Yeah, I
in itself
agree.
is a real issue.
No,
Well, I don't know if our emergent need is in the first year here either. I mean, I know we heard that growth is coming
Yeah,
from both of our principals, so I heard you very well. But our emergent need isn't this next coming year, right? We're gonna see it.
I
in the
have to
next
hire
year
2
and-
teachers next year that have no rooms. I have PE teachers in a closet in the gym. I need to bring in a math teacher and a reading teacher, and I don't have a space to.
so we may be able to do something with that. You know, we did build a building last year, you know, and it did take a little bit longer, but if we could start earlier in the spring and then have it done by the start of the school year, you know, that would, it's a lot less costly. And it kind of solves the problem for right now, you know, to a degree, and it's cheaper.
Do you remember
And we
the
still,
cost on that?
yeah, and it's about 100, it was a little over 100,000, I think altogether. You know, if we had, like I told you, if we had Swank or anybody else come in and build it, it'd be at least 3 times that much probably. Roughly. Because it's just by the square foot. So,
But you're saying you literally don't have space for. the teacher
And I know
training?
that elementary also needs, so I mean, you'd have to get creative, and that's why you said some people would not be happy. I understand that delaying, if they're going for the
I'm
bond.
sitting over
I
here.
understand that. There was talk of adapting one of the other buildings outside, which we do that, we run out of storage, but there is that other building, and you talked maybe about extending the gym out to the other side. And
Storage buildings aren't expensive, though, to rent. I mean, you can get those.
But they're not insulated.
Well, and I see the cost here, and honestly, your idea of expanding the building more makes more sense at this price than it would be to put it in something portable. We're not gonna gain anything back out of it. Because then you wouldn't have to worry about plumbing, electricity, and bathrooms, and 'cause it's connected to the building.
Some of it, I think, if we do look at something like that, like we did last summer, we're probably gonna have to hire, if we can find them, hire a few people to help, you know, with that, because it was pretty much Tony and Phil. And it, you know, it was tough.
Can you partner with the high schools and their construction?
You know,
costs?
maybe, that's a good idea. Gotta look into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
How is it working, Mrs. Davis, out at in your little area?
It's good. I mean, the space is bigger than what I've had in the past. And I love the space. And it's not bad having to have the kids come through the outside. I mean, there are some drawbacks, of course, bringing in snow and dirt and, you know, all of that kind of stuff. And of course, having to come in to go to the bathroom. And for the little kids, it's kind of hard, you know, to be out there and not have a bathroom and then, you know, all of a sudden need to go. And one of us has to leave the class to come and unlock the door. So there are some things like that, but as far as the space itself, it's really, really nice. I like it.
are the portables only 100, are they 750 square feet, those rooms?
Well,
What
I
does
think
it say
that's
on
with
that
the
bid?
bathrooms in them. So if you took the bathroom,
Does a middle school classroom need 9?
yeah, you need
Yeah.
that.
So it is not the greatest answer. It allows small groups or, you know, like they're saying. So it's just saying that we'd have to get creative around what.
Which one of you are coming with me when I tell Philly's build another building next summer?
Well, you know, I have to say, I'm a little disappointed that we didn't look at that property across from Chris Reynolds. You guys have to call it Filter Estate and spell it with a PH.
I like it.
That's where I belong.
That's a good one.
Filter School.
So.
So I don't know.
Do
I
we
mean,
not want to take action on that?
timeline wise, you mentioned your emergent need in a year, and timeline wise, even if you pass the bond, it's a year of design and construction, and you may not even be in that building till 2024.
Right.
So it's a long outlook, even with a portable or an.
Well,
add-on.
you can lease portables, but boy, by the time you do it, it's almost as expensive as buying them.
Where does this money come from? $1 million.
It would be an intercap loan. So, yeah.
How would that affect your debt capacity on the 27 million that you just did?
That's a good question. I'm not really sure about that. Stacy, we'll look at
Because
that, 'cause I'm not
it'll,
sure.
I don't know what your full debt
Yeah.
capacity is, but that million will go against that.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh,
So that's the other thing you've got to watch out for is.
27 million is what our debt.
I know. We miss you. I mean,
Yeah.
Cecilia's doing great. but
I just have the years
Any
in
notes
and
over
been
there?
through 'em.
So I don't know. I mean, I guess for me, I think we can try an alternate path,
Okay.
possibly. This seems like an awful lot.
Okay, so are we not gonna have any
It's
motion on that?
surprisingly more expensive than I thought it was gonna be
Yeah.
for portables.
Yeah, and they're really,
Okay, well, it's like to fill them all.
okay. So we can just move on if nobody wants to make a motion. Nobody.
And you don't need to do L either.
No, so then we will skip L. All right, so now we are on to consideration of superintendent contract extension.
So that's just something we've done for the last
Yeah.
5 years or so, and it's just, I mean, it's the most you can do under Montana code
Yeah.
for a superintendent, so it's a 3-year
What
contract.
is it called? I always want to say piggyback. It's not.
It's an evergreen.
Evergreen. I knew it was
Evergreen.
something weird like that. Greenback, piggyback, evergreen.
Yeah. Evergreen.
Okay.
Evergreen means a 3-year
It just keeps going.
Well, it's one more year, so he always has a 3-year contract. So at the end of every year, we always add one more year. Which is what we've
So
done
right
since
now, my
he's-
contract would go through 23, 24.
Yeah, we do it every year. Yeah.
That we extend our superintendent's contracts. As long as we can.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, aye. Opposed? Okay, consideration of appointing Cecilia Llewellyn as the clerk of the board. Yes, don't make that face.
Cindy's gonna teach you everything she knows.
Yeah.
So obviously, we highly recommend that. She's doing better. She doesn't think so, but we all do it. So
Yeah, seriously. I mean, I don't get it. I wish I could come in and give you a big hug every day, tell you you're doing great, but I mean, really,
I thought if you came up with this,
yeah.
I mean, I thought this is very good.
Yep, very good
So,
agenda.
And all the links are working.
The meetings from the last minute were very nicely done too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think
Which
she's
we need to
doing-
approve before we adjourn.
Yeah, we did. That's part of the consent agenda.
Oh, okay. It was
Yep.
all in there. Okay.
Yep, yep.
We usually vote on it separately, sorry.
No, they're always part of the consent agenda. People might talk about them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yep.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Cecilia as clerk of the board.
second,
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, information items. So the usual reconciliation, the fund, 115.82 reports, activity account, bank reconciliation. All of that. And while we are looking at that, I also, the superintendent evaluation. So Cecilia sent out the form, which is a silly little form that we use every year, but just for the new board members, the way it works is everybody fills it out individually and then you send it to me. And then I will compile them, and then at the January meeting at the end, we'll have a closed session where we'll go through the superintendent evaluation, talk to Cal, accept it, and then move on. So I just need to know when it would be okay, based on people's schedules, that you could get that back to me. Because when is our next meeting? It's the 10th. So I would like to have them back the week before. So, I mean, you can get it back to me as soon as possible and just send it to my West Valley email, but if I could get them no later than like the 3rd of January, does that work for people?
Sure.
Mhm. And then I'll send little reminders if I don't have yours. And if you haven't looked at the form, you just fill in the boxes, and the comments are the most important part. I mean, it's a pretty standard, we talked about changing it,
Appreciate the
but
comments.
yeah. But
Did evaluations go out to staff, teachers?
no,
No, it's just the board.
Oh, that-
Always been the case. or is it
Yeah, you
something that we
can. I've been in
consider
districts where
doing?
they do it. It's not really an evaluation. it's
No, it
more
wouldn't
of
be an evaluation, but more of a,
observation type of thing, or not even that really. just kind of a general-
we did it for the prior superintendent, and it really kind of was not a positive experience. Just for people didn't feel comfortable filling them out, or it, I don't know, it just, it didn't work. And they aren't the ones that evaluate him, I mean, we're the boss, so, yeah, we made the decision not to do that. And it wasn't even with Cal that we did it, was the former superintendent, but it created a whole not good climate. Yeah. For lots of different reasons. but- So anyway, that's it. So yeah, I just need those by June or January 3rd, and we need a motion to adjourn.
We need to, oh, these are just.
No, they're just information items.
Move to adjourn.
I'll second.
Okay. Perfect.
Merry Christmas, everybody.